Hi, Clinton. How are you today?
Dottie, I am fantastic. I'm here with you. And this project has just been such a beautiful thing to watch come together. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man. And so I just really want to, first of all, I know you well and know about your company, but a lot of people don't know about RemedyLIVE, or they should know about RemedyLIVE and haven't heard enough. So would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you bring to the table?
So it's funny you say it that way because we focus on secret struggles. And so the word secret, of course, we don't talk about secrets. Mm-hmm. We help people that are struggling with everything that you can imagine that's hard, dealing with issues of addiction, dealing with pain and abuse, dealing with thoughts of suicide. We have a chat center that serves the entire United States. We're chatting with people that are finding us on a search and then sharing with us that secret struggle. And the reason why I love you and our work we've done together is the public school system. We've worked a lot with them, and we worked a lot with various organizations in the community to make sure that every human being knows that the secret struggle doesn't have the final say on one's future. And we use technology to make it easy to have that conversation so that folks can get that pump primed when it comes to confessing those struggles. So again, love what we do. It's messy, it's hard, but it's so needed in our day and age.
Yes. And actually, you've used a couple of words right there that just fit perfectly with why we're here today, talking about secret struggles. And also, you mentioned depression and suicide. And we know that those are both correlated with victims, survivors of domestic violence. And having been a survivor and lived in that era, or area, I should say, for many, many years, I know the importance of having someone that you could talk to and feeling like they were a safe person in which to share that information. So in knowing the data, and, I love data. It drives the work you do. It drives the work that I do. Mm-hmm. And I look at what has happened in the 1990s when I first started training on domestic violence. I would tell people it was 1 out of 8 women living with a man would experience that. And here we are, 2025, and the data has gotten so much worse. Nationally, it's 1 out of every 4. And here in Allen County, it's almost 1 out of every 2.
Oh, my goodness.
And so we know that without men coming alongside the women who are advocating for survivors and their children, we're not going to stop this, which is the call to action in the book, Strangled, that we're asking men to use their voice because you're powerful. And you are the people who can get into the heads and hearts of other men to change the way that they respond to women and to raising boys to understand the importance of respect towards women. So I know that you have a son and 4 daughters, is that correct?
3 daughters and a beautiful wife who you know.
Yes, I do.
So I feel in many ways I've got 4 incredible women in my house. Yeah.
There you go. And so Duke, your son, what messages do you think that he gets from his sisters and from Tanya and also from yourself about boundaries and intimate relationships?
Oh, such a good question. It's so appropriate in the timing. He just ended, graciously, of course, his first 1-year relationship as a dating man. He's a high school, sophomore, I guess. And he really cared a great deal about this girl. But what we talked about the entire year was protecting her heart, honoring her future, remembering the importance of leading her with dignity and making sure she felt value. We Faupel boys can take charge a little bit too much, and we don't always see the forest for the trees when it comes to the emotions of the women that we have in our lives. And so it's funny you asked this because, Duke, being the baby boy, has 4 incredible women that really look out for everything he needs. And that can be really destructive because you can grow up with a hedonistic mentality as a man. And we have more and more of that, to your point of the data, where men are somehow believing that they are the center of the universe. Now, we could say the same thing about a lot of different women too, but when a man doesn't realize the importance and the calling of being a servant leader to the people in his life, especially the women in his life, then he's missed what it means to live life. We're called to serve. We're called to figure out ways that we can elevate, cherish, make sure the women in our life feel special. And that's what Duke learned this last year. Now, in order to do that, though, we had to realize this relationship wasn't working. And so to honor the dignity of this young woman, to say, it's over. I care a great deal for you. I want nothing but the best for you. I want your faith to continue to grow. I want you to continue to grow. But our relationship has ended because I just know that it's the best for your future for us not to be together. And I was really proud of him. I was not that way at 15, as you know. I was the opposite. I was playing that game of what men do, conquering women around them, dating anybody that could, say yes to me. And I made a lot of terrible decisions that I regret deeply. But I'm so proud of my son that he is learning the best way to live life when it comes to cherishing the women in his life.
I love that success story at such a young age, too.
Yeah. Yes.
And so he's got people who are positively influencing him, that are giving him the words and also letting him test it out himself.
Sure. Absolutely.
Because people aren't going to be with him the whole walk, while he makes these different.
And he's close to that. Before I know it, he'll be out the door, right? So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And anyone watching the podcast, you start with the youngest of boys, helping them understand the importance of opening a door, the way that they speak, eye contact, remembering names, serving. Duke's also in the midst of looking for a job. And I'm like, you only get one shot at first impression, bro. So make sure it counts. And yeah, I'm very, very proud of him.
Excellent. So we talked about technology just briefly, and I know you love tech because, well, here we are in this beautiful studio.
RemedyLIVE, yeah.
But I know as an advocate that every new piece of technology that comes out, our abusers are figuring out a way in which to track, stalk their victims. Groom.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that as well. How does RemedyLIVE address that issue? And especially when you have youth texting in and chatting in, do you talk about technology and how it can be abused as well as used in a positive way? Yeah,
well, the irony, right, is that we use technology to have these conversations. And it seems kind of like we're hypocrites when we say that technology can sell you out. But we want to point out that what we're doing at Remedy is building the bridge of trust, which isn't so different than what a predator does. But of course, their bridge is meant to be a harmful bridge. We're trying to bridge to future hope and help for the folks that we serve. But yes, we point out to young people especially, and we do this through the Get School Tour, we use the word escape. When you use technology to escape into something, oftentimes you put yourself in complete vulnerability. There are people out there wanting to prey on the weak, wanting to prey on those that are looking for help and hope, and take advantage of that. And so educating young men and women about how our world is so upside down that every social media platform now is relying on that dopamine connection to keep you coming back. And not to be gender specific here, but women, young women especially, can fall so easily into that emotional bond because their neurochemistry, that dopamine connection, makes it feel so right. This boy, this person, and they often pose to be a boy. I remember a story at Glenbrook Mall. You might even remember it from your law enforcement work. Two young women thinking they were talking to a teenage boy, and it was actually an older man, much older man, who pulled up in a white van pretending to be the uncle of the boy going to a party. That's the type of techniques that are used through technology to prey on that dopamine hit, that dopamine bond, and say, you know what, let's keep moving further and further towards this relationship of trust, when honestly it's a facade. It's abuse at its finest level because it's deceptive. It's a lie, and it's selfish. Someone is selfishly trying to get that young woman or young man into a place of danger. And so, yeah, we have to be, sadly, in this day and age, kind of constantly asking the question, is this real? And then, I'll quote my friend Matt Runyon, who's a wonderful psychiatrist in town, to never do that alone. Do it in community. Because we have a way of lying to ourselves at an accelerated rate. How do we involve other people, especially trusted adults, to say, I'm talking to this guy or I'm talking to this person, and I don't know if it's legit, and he's making me feel good because of what he's saying. we adults know, wait a minute, this is not the way you do things. And I know we're in a day and age where more people are getting, dating online. I get all that, but you should still have community around you helping you nurture that which is true and eliminating that which is a lie.
Which is a lie. And that is also speaks to the issue of domestic violence, because the vast majority of it is perpetrated in the home.
Yes.
Not in a public place where someone might actually question what's happening, film it, call 911, intervene in some fashion. But it's happening behind closed doors. And in the book, we have a call to action to men and asking them to stand up, to use their voice, to, model for young boys, to intervene when they see this happening, to remember that it's not just physical violence. As a matter of fact, domestic violence, there's such a high correlation of sexual assault, rape. It's another form of battering.
Of course.
But there's also financial abuse, and there's use of the children, and there's coercion and threats.
Manipulation,
and even
Dottie.
manipulation through suicidal behavior, like I will kill myself and it'll be your fault if you leave me.
Yep.
How do you, as a leader in our community, a male leader in this community, how do you talk to clergy? How do you talk to coaches? How do you talk to people who have the ability to have influence on other people? How do you send that message to them and get them involved in this work?
Not delicately.
Okay.
And you and I have been on many stages together. I am usually not the first choice by an organization to have me MC their event and even to speak at their event, because I live out loud transparently. And I also make sure to challenge those that I get the privilege to speak to, because I hate wasting people's money and time, right? If they're coming to an event that they've paid to be at, I want them to leave saying that shifted my perspective on my one and only life. And so I will share honestly about the things I did in my teenage years that I am not proud of. I have so much regret, Dottie, of the way I treated young women. I think I may have told you the story that when I had a faith encounter at 18, that my mentor said, I want you to go to every woman you've hurt and seek forgiveness. And Dottie, I'm not bragging, but it was a long list, a long list of women that I played the 80s game of dating, and without any consequence, I just did whatever I wanted. And so this is pre-Google, and I had to figure out how I would find these women and seek forgiveness for what I'd said to them, what I've done to them, what I've treated them like. And it was so humbling. But I share stories like that when I'm on stages because I want to call out the men in the crowd that are sitting beside their significant other, yelled at them all the way to the event, or grabbed them by the shoulder the evening before, or manipulated them with, you're not getting a job because I'm the one that takes care of our home. I want to call those men out through my transparency to feel convicted, to share that secret struggle, and for them to admit that they have a problem, right? Because I believe wholeheartedly in a God that wants to help people come to terms with reality. But we build up our shields of pride, of disbelief, and sometimes we have this, well, all the time we have this self-preservation that if I share that I'm an abuser, if I share that I'm hurting my wife or my kids, the system is going to completely throw me away. And there are going to be consequences. But what I've learned is that men that are courageous enough to say, I've got to stop this activity, I need help, they actually get treated with a lot more grace because that's just so uncommon. It's sadly more common to get caught, or more common to find you are a murderer because you've literally killed that person that you're supposed to love. And so I believe that I've been called to use my big mouth to help people admit those things. And then I remember an event that I did up in the LaGrange area a number of years ago, where I spoke about this exact topic. And a woman stayed later weeping, and she had been a victim of domestic abuse. And she stayed around, and she said, I came because this was a parenting workshop. I stayed because I'm a woman that's been beaten up by her husband. And I remember that evening just feeling so grateful that I was part of helping this woman, she wasn't a young woman, but a woman, escape her own prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes men standing up and saying, no more on my watch. I'm going to be a warrior for what's right in our world. And this is a topic that needs to be addressed.
There's so many things that you just said, but I'm just thinking all the times that I used my voice to speak up, to try to affect change, that I was told I was bossy, that I was outspoken, that I was aggressive, that I was intimidating. When your daughters
Mm-hmm.
are using their voice and they're told those things, have you given them, or has Tanya talked to them about it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to have those labels as
Yeah.
long as you're delivering your message with respect and that there's a purpose for it, that you're not trying to harm people, that you're trying to educate people?
Yeah.
What's that look like for your daughters?
Yeah. So I have a complicated answer for you, but it starts with human self-compassion, right? Honey, love yourself enough to stand up for your future self, right? Have the amount of confidence in who you were created to be by a God who doesn't make mistakes, to stand up against those injustices, right? Now the tone, that's probably where we get caught up, right? It's like,
Right.
why does she always sound angry, or why does she always sound like she's in a bad mood? So, as you know, my wife is incredibly gracious. She is just joy epitomized. Bubbly. Our daughters have learned that speaking the truth in love is paramount. But what if you are being victimized? I do have a daughter that was treated badly by people, and not just men, but people. And she had to find her voice, and she had to say, I will not allow me and my future self to be treated with this type of disrespect. I'm removing myself from that type of abuse. Now, abuse in that term to a 15-year-old is different than what you went through, Dottie.
Sure.
But to her mind, if she settled there, she's going to settle for the boy who yells at her.
Yeah.
She's going to settle for the husband who manipulates her. And I don't want my daughters to slide into compromise. I want them to stand up for their value and their future self. So, yeah, Tanya's been incredible in this regard. I'm a loud guy, and my words impact them when I am loud. And she has been very clear, honey, we don't speak that way to the girls, or we don't speak that volume to the girls. We have one really important F word in our house, and that's forgiveness.
Yes.
Will you forgive Papa that I use my voice loudly, and I can tell that hurt you, that scared you? In fact, just a couple nights ago, I was talking to one of my daughters, and I'd said something a little louder, and I could see in her countenance that she took that, not with what I said, but the volume of how I'd said it. And I just love that I have a wife who's like still teaching an old dog some new tricks about recognizing that. But it's just those small things, right? Because you and I both know that we're going to have encounters in our future that are T-ball moments to teach the people we love how to live life to the full. And I'm grateful that I have a wife that helps me do that with my daughters. And then, like I said earlier, my son and I have many teachable moments because we're cut from the same cloth.
What if I told you some research suggests that there are certain professions that domestic batterers are attracted to? And those three professions are military, law enforcement, and clergy.
Oh, wow.
If that's true, how do we take three very noble professions that are male-dominated professions, and how do we shift that culture, Clinton? As a man of faith yourself?
Yes, yeah. And I'm ordained, so I'd be in the clergy crowd,
Okay.
right? Sure. I would say that knowing those three, and there's probably more that we could add, those are all callings where men are elevated and worshiped as heroes or people of wisdom, or whatever you want to say.
They also are three professions with a lot of power.
Power. Yeah.
One's
Yeah.
a higher power.
That's
the other
right.
two, I can take away your civil liberties. And the other one, same thing.
That's right. You're right. Absolutely. And so the problem with those three things, or that what you just mentioned, is that it actually completely deceives the man. I said earlier that the best way to lead as a man is to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't sexy. That is not, well, you won't see that out there on GQ, or you won't hear about that in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's just not popular. And yet there is nothing more amazing than watching a man serve the people around him, especially the women in his life. Mm-hmm. All three of those industries, and I've served, we've done CIT training together, and we've done things where we've helped those industries. And I obviously work with a lot of people that are involved in the clergy, and these are men, and I'll throw in some of the law enforcement I know, where their secret struggles get out of control, but their pride keeps them from ever admitting that they're getting out of control.
Sure.
So they drink more, or they escape more. And when I have escaped, I have noticed a correlation between escape, guilt, and anger. Something happens within my psyche where if you ever see me angry, ask me what I feel guilty about.
Okay.
Because deep down, there's something that I have done wrong, that I know I've done wrong, and I feel so bad about it. I'm going to control my world by using my voice and my anger. And so those three groups that you just shared, they're often men that are living in secret. I can call them out because I have my own past to say, I think something's going on. My radar's going off here. Mm-hmm. But all of them have unfortunately mishandled the power they've been given. And they think they can put that power over the people they should be loving the most, serving the most, cherishing the most. And let me be clear to the people watching and listening to this, the men especially. Just because you once in a while take your wife out for a date, or once in a while tell your daughter she's pretty, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a consistency of being cherished, consistency of serving. We can often deceive ourselves that, wait a minute, I took her out last month. I'm not abusive. I love her. My grandfather, worst quote in the business, he would say often to my grandmother, I told you I loved you the day I married you. I'll tell you if I change my mind.
Wow. And
as a kid, we all laughed.
Sure.
As I've gotten older, I'm like, how did that make grandma feel? Mm-hmm. Love doesn't keep record of wrongs, but love also is a constant beauty of serving and cherishing and honoring. And so I kind of ramble with my answer, but I think it's so important that we recognize that if we've been given a privilege of a platform like being in law enforcement, being in the military, being in the pulpit, use that as a power for good, not just for the good of saving lives or just for the good of preaching the word of God, but instead the good of recognizing that there are people in these congregations, in these communities, that when we're transparent about topics like this, change can really occur. And people need courage. Without vision, the people perish. We have to cast that vision. And some of us have that privilege to do that. And that's what I love about you, is that you use that role that you've had in so many different industries to make sure that people are paying attention to this.
Well, I think you would probably agree with this statement that before we can minister to others, we have to first minister to ourselves. And that means that we have to, like you said, give forgiveness to ourselves, but also offer it to the people that we've harmed, which was part of my journey as well. And part of that also, after I worked on myself, was to say, here's what I need to do to make sure I stay healthy, which is surround myself with people who respect me, surround myself with people who are genuine in their coming alongside me, that they have good intentions, that they want to continue to grow this knowledge in a community, and that they're not there self-serving, that they're not there to make a buck.
Sure.
And that is part of this work, is that I'm not a perfect human, and you're not a perfect
Yes.
human. And so we're not casting judgment on those that are involved in domestic violence. We're asking them to recognize their behavior, that there are people in this world who will come alongside them and help them to stop that cycle.
Yes.
It only takes one caring adult to change the trajectory for a child growing up in that home. It could be you, it could be me, it could be anyone who's
Anyone.
listening.
Yeah.
And that's what part of the goal of the book is, to get more people invested in the conversation. It is a hidden struggle, because if you tell somebody, you could lose your affluence, you could lose your job in some cases. I mean, there's so many fallouts from being a victim of domestic violence, or a perpetrator for that matter.
Yeah.
So the goal is to continue to have these frank conversations with people in our community and then beyond, to actually change those numbers. That means I need men.
That's right. And there's two things I would say to that are really critical. Sometimes I think we believe that the abuse or the infraction has to be significant. But what I've learned in my leadership as a man is it's the small little things that when I ask forgiveness to my daughter or my son or my wife for, it builds this beautiful, again, trust, right? And so if you are someone who's abusive, watching, listening, and you know that this is, I mean, even as you listen to this, you're convicted. Yes, talk to someone, but also begin to practice regularly times of humility where you seek reconciliation for the small things you do as well. The big ones, yes, definitely reconcile those, but the small things are so super important as well. And then another thing that you said in regards to the community around you, and I totally believe you should have folks that respect you. You should have support. You should have strength. But I know you well enough, Dottie, that you've also had, and you're strong because of this as well, but you also have people that make you better. And
Definitely.
No one goes to the gym without lifting weight to tear those muscles and be stronger. And so we also need not abusers, but we need challengers, friends that say, I care too much about you not to let you be better to more than you were today, right? So we have to have some sandpaper. We have to sometimes smooth out those edges. And that's where good mentorship comes in. That's where men supporting men, accountability groups, iron sharpening iron, totally critical. If I had a bunch of people around me that always agreed with me all the time, I wouldn't be who I am today. I've had a lot of mentors that have kicked my tail, as I know you have as well. And we become better when we have people that strengthen us, not abuse us, but make us better and accountable.
No, that's so true. Even any leadership role, you should surround yourself with people who are not like-minded, but people who are going to challenge you, who are going to ask you the what ifs and, press that envelope for better. And I would say, I say this in my house a lot, my Cheerio is small. My circle of friends is very, very small. But I have lots of mentors. They're not necessarily my friend, but they're the people that are going to tell me when I'm not doing things well, where I might want to consider something else.
And you have a teachable spirit. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Clinton, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today and to talk about one more secret struggle that's happening here in our community and across this country. And if we don't talk about it, we know that nothing's going to change. And so we need partnerships like yourself at the table. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Dottie.